Yes, we are good.
Okay, very good. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this May meeting of the Newbie Users Group. We're very pleased to have you here with us today. Klaus, let's just go right to the next slide. Okay. We want to thank you. We want to thank you for being part of the community. We want to thank you for being part of this group. It means an awful lot to us that you're here and you're going to be with us. Now, we're going to, for the next few minutes, people are going to be joining the group. In that time, what we'd like you to do is let us know where you're from. Just chime in, tell us where you're from. And if you went to TC this year, tell us either you went to TC or maybe you saw some virtual presentations of TC. We'd like to know that. As far as the group is concerned, Klaus and I were at TC, and Jennifer, our guest speaker, was at TC. And we're hoping next year that we can get Reyes and Maddie to join us, and we can have a whole group out there. Okay. Good morning, Kansas City. Glad to see you out there in North Carolina. Bloomington, Indiana. Who's from Bloomington, Indiana? I'm a Purdue graduate, so and Maddie is in Indianapolis right now, so we like Indiana. Japan's in the room. So glad to have you.
And I love reading that people had a great time at a conference like Sharina, and yeah, same for me. I really enjoyed conference, the vibe in the convention center, the keynotes, but also the meetups like we did also for first-time conference attendees. That was really fun and really energizing, at least for me.
Yeah. George, I was thinking, George, I was walking by, they had a photo booth there set up like Friends. And I was walking by and George was sitting there and they invited me in to be part of the photo. And thank you for that, George. I was thinking of that the other day when I saw somebody else's photo come up online. Okay. We're going to wait just a couple more minutes, and then we're going to get started in this. Devs on Stage, absolutely. Devs on Stage was fabulous. If you don't know, if you haven't been to TC and you don't know what Devs on Stage are, it's a chance for some of the developers to show what they've worked on, and it's a real honor for them to be on stage. And they were fabulous this year. I can't tell you how great they were. Okay. Okay, Jason liked Devs on Stage also. We actually got to meet them. I think Klaus and I got to meet the devs the night after Devs on Stage. I don't know if you were there, Klaus, but maybe you were not. We got to meet them the night after Devs on Stage, and we got to meet them a couple nights before. And they were so excited about doing their presentation, and then they were really excited after they had completed their presentation. They're really good people, and they work awfully hard.
And also the energy in the room. So 8,000 people, and then bigger and smaller features are announced, and people just go crazy and cheer and scream. So it's a little bit nerdy, but it's really nice.
Yeah. Okay, and then there were those two guys, Ken and Kevin, were there, but the hit of the show was obviously Keith. And if you were there, you know what I'm talking about. Keith was the hit of the Flurlage twins presentation. Okay, Klaus, let's go ahead and we'll advance the deck and we'll go ahead and get started.
Yes.
Once again, thank you for being with us today. We're really glad that you're here. You'll notice that the audio and video have been disabled. There's going to probably be 250, 300 people on the call today. So the bandwidth just doesn't allow everybody to be live with their audio and video. But the chat is open, and we want you to use the chat to communicate back and forth with each other. And if you have any questions for any of the presenters, please put it in the Q&A. Reyes and Maddie and those of us who are, the Q&A has just started. That's what Raj just put up there. We're going to be monitoring the Q&A session, and we're going to try to get answers for all your questions. Also, yes, the session is being recorded, and you're probably going to see over and over again, people are going to say, is this recorded? Yes, it's going to be recorded, and we usually have it up within like 48 hours. The recording will be up on our website, and I think we also posted on social media. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and the recording will be up there, and I think the workbook will be up there also. Klaus, let's. If you're new to the newbie group, and we know that every section we have a lot of people who have never been with the newbies before. This group was formed 4 years ago, and it was a group that was the goal of this group was to help people who were new to Tableau, help them get comfortable with the idea of user groups and also to become part of the community. We had found, and I say we, Tableau had found, that there seemed to be a reluctance of new users to join a users group. So we wanted a group that was dedicated strictly to you, that talked about topics that were of interest to new users and users who were advancing their skills, and also talked in a tone that was appropriate for you. We meet every 6 to 8 weeks, and there's 2 parts to each session. One is it's how does that work session? And Klaus and I and other members of the newbie team will take you through some of the Tableau functionality, and we'll dive down into it and get a little deeper into how something works and why it works. And then we have a featured speaker, and you, the community here, or the members here, tell us what you'd like to hear. You can put that in the chat, or you can put that in the Q&A, and you say, hey, I'd like to hear some topic, and we'll find a speaker who's able to talk on that topic. Klaus? Yeah, go ahead, Klaus.
Yeah, for today, so we have an agenda, and after introducing the team, we will dive into these 2 parts that Jim just talked about. So we will talk about the data source tab today. So this is really something at the very beginning of every project that you do in Tableau. You have to connect to data, and we will look into the things that have been there for a long time, like unions and joins, but also into the newer things that came in with the latest releases of Tableau, like, for example, shared dimension. And we will give you a brief overview on what you can do on the data source tab. And then we're very excited to have Jennifer today with us, a fellow Tableau visionary, and she will do her presentation on her great designing tips and on the topic of designing with purpose. Then we have another topic that is that we do every time, and that is a quiz. So Maddie will prepare a quiz on today's topics on the fly, and at the end you will be able to prove if you followed everything and if you're able to answer Maddie's questions.
Okay, there's 2 important things to understand about the quiz. First of all, Maddie's making this up on the fly. She's making it up live, so you really do have to pay attention, because she's pretty good with the quiz. The second, and this is probably the most important, there are no prizes, there are no cash awards, but you do get bragging rights. Go ahead, Klaus. I interrupted you.
No, all good. Yeah, Jim already said we're a team of and I think most of us are with us today. So maybe Maddie, would you like to start and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Maddie Wild. I live in Indianapolis, and I work at a grant-making foundation here in Indianapolis. So I'm working with grantee data and also public data. So I do a lot from the census, things like that. I have been using Tableau, I think 3 years. It's hard for me to know at this point. I don't keep track anymore, but I use it every day, and I use Public and Prep the most. So happy to be here.
Thank you. Reyes, do you want to go next?
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. I'm Reyes Murrieta. I'm currently based out of Berthoud, Colorado, but I travel around a lot. I've been a Tableau user now for about 4 years, and I work for an animal pharmaceutical company called Zoetis, where we do a lot in the R&D. So I'm working with genomics and animal data all the time. And 4 years being a Tableau user, I still have not made it to the Tableau conference. So that is on the bucket list to do for this next year.
Great. Viraj?
Hey, hi everyone. I'm Viraj. I'm from Mumbai, India. I am a Tableau user group ambassador, and this is my a common line that I always say. But I am a Tableau newbie at heart, and I've been that way since 2019, I believe. That's when I started using Tableau or working on Tableau. I am passionate about community engagement and Tableau and data visualization. So join me on social media anytime you feel like. Okay, great to have you all here.
Okay. And I'm Jim Dehner. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I am I'm one of the Tableau visionaries. I'm a 5-time visionary. I also do a lot of work out on the forum, and I may have run into you out on the forum, maybe answered one of your questions out on the forum. I've been using Tableau now for almost 10 years. The first edition of Tableau that I used was Tableau 9. So I go back to that time. Klaus?
Yeah, and I'm Klaus. I live and work in Münster, Germany, and I've been using Tableau since version 10.2. I'm also one of the Tableau visionaries, and I work at Münster University of Applied Sciences, where I teach management accounting and also data analytics, data visualization to my undergraduates and graduate students. And I'm also very passionate with Tableau, of course, and I'm working also at InfoTopics Apps for Tableau, where we create Tableau extensions. And if you were at TC and if you saw a pink dino somewhere, that was us. Yeah, everything you want to know about extension, feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah.
Jim, you also took a picture with the dino, right?
I took a picture of the dino, and my wife was there. My wife took a picture with the dino. Now I got to tell you, the dino was real. It was not a stuffed animal. There wasn't somebody inside it. It was real. So that's what my wife told me anyway.
Okay. Yeah. For the agenda or the roadmap for this year. So each year we think about the content for the year, and this year we tried to do something new. And if you were with us last time, we did a solution build for the first time. So for this year, we have 3 sessions where we will build out a solution here live on stage. So team members will take over different parts of such a solution builds, like getting data, preparing data, doing explorative data analysis, building out the visualizations in Tableau, creating a dashboard, apply design principles, for example, and all of this in a live session here with all of you. So that will be the next meeting in June, when we will do the next solution build, and we will use the data plus TV data set. You can find that one on Tableau Public. So feel free to download that data set, and maybe you also want to prepare something or want to join us when we build out the solutions. And beside that, very much what Jim said, we try to cover basic concepts, fundamental building blocks of Tableau in the other meetings, where we will always do a how does it work session, and then have great community speakers like Jennifer today, or Harim Young last time in January. So there should be something for you every time we meet, and yeah, it would just be great if you would be with us next time as well. Yeah, and if you want to sign up already for the next meeting, grab the QR code. The page is already there, and also go to Tableau Public, like I said before, download the data set, and you can already start trying to analyze the data and come up with something, and join us then next time.
Just by the way, that is the same data set that was used as the qualifier for Iron Viz this year. So you may have seen the Iron Viz qualifiers and the top 10 qualifiers. They all use the same data set. So.
Yeah, so first part today, the data source page. I said this is the very first thing when you start a project in Tableau and Tableau Desktop, as well as on Tableau Cloud. You have to connect to a data source. And what we really like to do is to introduce the basic concepts and also go a little bit further when talking about the new concepts like shared dimensions. And I think I need to reshare my screen just a second because I will start, I would say, with the traditional way of connecting to data. And therefore, I'm sharing Tableau. So this is the data source page, this is the landing page, I have to say. So when you open up Tableau, you have the connection pane on the left side. You have your recently opened workbooks here at the top, and some more information that is maybe not too relevant for this part. What I will do now is to connect to a file, and I have prepared some Excel files I'm going to use here. So my background is in management accounting, so I have some sales data with budget data, and the thing I'm going to build out is a very simple comparison of actual data versus budget data. And the first thing I'm going to do is I will connect to this first Excel file from July 2024. And once I've opened that file, this will lead me to the data source page. You'll see on the data source page here, this big canvas where I already have my sheet 1. Sorry, I was a little bit lazy with naming my sheets in the Excel file, so it's just the sheet 1. And you get a little preview of the data. So this is a very simple file. We have our subcategories, we have profit, and we have Umsatz, which is German for sales, but that's here for a reason. I will come back to this later. Here on the left side, we see the connection. So I'm now connected to one file, and this here is my data source. And since sheet 1 Superstore Sales is maybe not the best name for this, I will give it a proper name, and I call it example 1. So now the first thing I would like to introduce is the physical layer. And you can learn about the physical layer when you just hover this element that's already in the canvas. And you see this is a logical table called sheet 1. And it also says that you have to double click the logical table to see its physical table. All right, let's do that. And you see when I double click, the view changes slightly. And just to get rid of this sheet 1 here, let me call this July. So this is my July sheet. When looking at my folder, you might have seen that there is more than just the July sheet. So it seems like in this example, there was a file created for every month. So we have July, we have August, and we have September. And I want to read them all in. And the first thing we can do to do this is to create a union. So let's create a union or convert this to a union. And now we can read in more than one file at once. I could add connections to the other files and add them here in the specific union. Or, and that's maybe the smarter way, we can do a wildcard union, define a search pattern, which is Superstore Sales without the month, hit apply. And hopefully this will add the other files as well. And you see here in the preview that I will now have not just 7, but also 8 and also 9. Yeah, so we are stacking the tables on top of each other. And what we can see here is that there is a little issue. Yeah, so I mentioned there was one column called Umsatz, and the other columns, the other tables have a column called Sales. And it seems like this is the same, right? So if we have Umsatz, we don't have Sales. And if we have Sales, we don't have Umsatz. So most likely this is the same, and therefore we merge the mismatched fields. So when we do a union, tables should have the same structure. Otherwise, something like this would happen, that Tableau would add null values for the mismatched columns. So let's add this and let's give it a proper name. This is my sales. Then in path, I have the information of the month, so 7, 8, 9. And one thing that I love to do is to just convert this to a date. And Tableau should be smart enough to cut out the correct parts of this and make it a date. And I will rename this to a date. So that's fine. So we have now multiple tables here, and I should again rename this to maybe Q3 actuals. Yeah, that's it. To further clean it up, I can also get rid of this one here. So the sheet 1 column does nothing for us, so let's hide it. Now I want to add my budget data, and my budget data is on category level. And since we only have subcategories here, I need to add categories. Yeah, and therefore I add my mapping table where I'm mapping the subcategories to categories. Yeah, so I've added a new connection, and Tableau will bring in this table cat to subcat as a join. Yeah, you have a visual hint that these new columns are coming from a different table. Yeah, we have this orange connection with categories, and we have the join on subcategory. We do an inner join here to keep only matches, which is fine since I have a category for each subcategory. Can hide this column since it's twice in the data now. And I have added one new column to my table. Yeah, this is fine. Now let's add also my budget data. That's my third Excel file, the budget Q3. Let's add that connection, and Tableau again does the join since it realized that we have category in both tables, and I'm adding a sales budget and a profit budget. Yeah, like this, we can modify tables. Yeah, with a union, we make them longer. With a join, we make them wider. And then let's see what we can get from this. So first thing I would like to do is to compare my category. I take this one, actuals. This is the actual, and I want to compare it to the budget. But this is looking strange to me since my actuals are something 66,000 and the budget is 84K. That cannot be true. It seems like we did something wrong. And when I look at this, I can see what's going wrong because my budget data, when I look into this, has a different granularity like my actual data. While my actual data is on subcategory and on month level, my budget data is on category and on quarterly level. So basically, we are writing each budget of each category into every row of a subcategory and a month. And that's why this blows up here. We could fix that by taking the average instead, and this looks way more reasonable. So basically, what I want to say is you have to know what you do when you create such a join. But yeah, so that is one option. Yeah, just always double check, sense check your data, and make sure that the join is really doing what you want to do. And if you can work around this, then you can fix it by using the correct aggregation in the view. Now let's try a different way. I've created a copy of my data source, and this will be my example 2. And in my example 2, I will get rid of this join here because this is actually not what I really want. And I will close the physical layer. And instead, I will add my budget on the logical layer, like this. So this is the second way of combining tables to add more columns. And this way, we can build a relationship between the two logical tables. The setup of the connection is slightly different. So we have category here and category in the other table. But the crucial difference is that both tables remain independent, let's say. Yeah, so when I click on budget, I see the budget table here. And when I click on sheet 1, which is the union with the join, I get this table. And they remain independent. They are not physically merged together. And if I now do the same again, so look at category, look at my actuals, and look at my budget, I really don't have to care about this issue that I had with my join, because Tableau is now querying the data in the correct way and adds the budget at the correct level of detail. This may be the first part of the data page. And let me go back to our presentation. Wait a second. Let's go here. And maybe this sums it up. When you connect to tables and you need some modifications, these are basically options that you have. You start with one table, then you can add more tables of the same structure and stack them on top of each other. That's what we call a union. And you can add columns to the tables that make them wider. And these are called joins. For a join, you need a join clause and a join type. For a union, you need tables that have basically the same structure. In addition, you can do relationships and relationships are especially recommended when you have tables with different granularity. Like I had in my example, where I had subcategories on month level, and I wanted to bring them together with budgets on category and quarterly level. Like I shown in my demo, relationships are a very neat way to not get a headache about this, and just put the data together and use it right away. Jim, this is maybe the traditional way of creating data connections in Tableau. Do you want to shed some light on the new stuff?
Absolutely. I think you have to let me share the screen.
Yes.
There we go. And we're going to pick it up here. Okay, now this is an example of, it picks up what Klaus was doing. This is the type of data that you might get from your ERP system. Maybe you're using Oracle, or you've got an SAP system. And in that system, you get sales on a monthly basis, and you can get not only the sales dollars, but the sales quantity on a monthly basis. And you probably have some master data. You have data for the product master, and you also have data for the customer master. And in this case, I've got a standard cost file. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to be able to put these files together. And I just want to show you what we've got here. I created these sales files the same way that Klaus just just showed you. This is just a union between the January sales and the February sales. And then I did the same thing over here for the quantities for January and February. And if we were to look at this table, the sales has a order ID. It's got a customer, a date, products, and sales dollars. And if we look at the quantity files, it's the same file setup except in terms of the metric here, it's quantity instead of dollars. And we can take a look at our sales and our quantity by month, and then we can make a calculation to determine the average selling price. And our average selling price, this is no great surprise that we're just taking the sales and we're dividing it by the quantity, and we get numbers that look like the values that you see here. And just kind of remember these values. We're going to see them as we go along. And these numbers are going to keep returning to us. We got the average selling price for each of the items. Well, that's fine. This is kind of where Klaus was, where we've unioned some data together, and then we've used a relationship here to connect those two files. And what we were connecting, when we connected the two files, we had an order ID in each of the files, and we had a product ID in each of the files, and that connected them at the order and product level. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to bring in the product master. And you see, when I bring in the product master, I get a choice. I can put it here as a new base table. I'm just going to put it there for a minute, and then we're going to connect it into the other files. And I wanted to show you what's in this product master. All it is a product hierarchy. There could be other fields, but in this one, I just kept it simple. We have a product line, a product group, and a product master. And I'm going to connect that to our joined or a relationship that has sales and quantity. And we connect that on the product name basis. We got product and we've got product. Now I've got to move something here. These little messages that come up are always in the wrong place. Now we can go out and we can take a look at the product hierarchy. Well, first, let's make it a true hierarchy. I'm just going to drag the product group here and put it under the product line. And then I'm going to drag the actual product and put it under the product group. So now we've got a hierarchy. And if we were to expand this, we were to see the product line, the product group, and the product. And here's our average selling prices once again. But now we're able to look at it as a product hierarchy where we weren't able to do that before. Now I'd like to add one more set of master data, and that's our customer master. Well, let's just take a look at the customer master. It is nothing but the customer name and its location and a sales rep. Okay, this is the type of data that you might keep in a customer master. And we take a look at where we would like to connect this data. We have to connect it to some place that has a customer in the data set. The product master, we looked before, we can't connect it to the product master, so I can't connect it down here, but I can go back and I can connect it to this connection just like we added our product master. We're going to put our customer master, and we're going to connect it right to the combination of sales and quantity. And you can see now we've got these two separate master files connected into the overall sales data, if you will, the sales dollars and the sales quantity. And it is connected at the customer level, customer and customer. So we can come back and we can now look at the customer. And I've dropped the customer in here. Off the customer master, I've got the location, I've got the sales rep, and I've got the customer. And I'm going to remove this. And off the product master, now we can add in the product line and the product group, and we can get down to the product level, and here's our average selling prices come back just as they have before. So what we've been able to do is we've been able to take the master data from our ERP system in terms of the customer and in terms of the product and the hierarchies associated with it, and connect them back into our actual sales data. And we were able to look in detail at the sales by customer and by product after we make that connection. I've now got one more file here, and this is our standard cost file. And this file is at a different level than our sales data. Our sales data is at the product date level. So we're looking at product and dates here. And here we've got product and we've got the standard cost at the product level. And what I'd like to be able to do is I want to connect this to a proper location where I can have the standard cost by product. And to do that, we're going to connect that file, the standard cost, we're going to connect that into our product master. We're going to connect it out here. We've dropped our standard cost into the product master file. Now we can come back and we can build out our gross margin and our standard cost at the product level. I'm going to create a whole new file here. I want to go into the product master, and I want to throw our standard cost on there, and these are our standard costs that we had in the data set. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to calculate, and I want to go back to this one here. I'd like to be able to calculate our gross margin dollars, and all our gross margin dollars is our sales, and we're going to use the sum of sales minus our standard cost, the sum of our standard cost. But our standard cost is on the unit level, so we have to multiply this by quantity. And that will give us our gross margin dollars. And we can drop that in. And let's put our product line up here. Okay, and we get our gross margin dollars here, and we can see that our selling price, and I want my standard cost up there. That's what's missing in that file. Okay, if we were to take a look, we were to say our average selling price is $5, our standard cost is $4. That's $1 difference times the quantity of 20, and yes, these all seem to be making sense. Now, we want to take this and we want to convert it to calculate our margin. Okay, and to do that, we're going to take our gross margin dollars and we're just going to divide this by the sum of sales. Easy enough to do. And this is our gross margin percent. And we need to format that as a percent. And now we've got our gross margin percent. When we've done this, we're also able, and the way we've connected these together, we're now able to look at our overall column totals, and we can get our gross margin percent on a weighted average basis of 27.16 for the total combination, or where we could take a look at, this is going to get messy, sorry about this. We could take a look at each one of the subtotals and get our gross margin. And I'm going to take this back one level to make it a little easier to see. We can take a look at our gross margin and our gross margin percent at each one of our sublevels. And we were able to do that because now we're able, using shared dimensions, to connect our customer master and our product master back into our sales quantity. And then the standard cost, even at a different level, we're able to connect those back into our product master. Klaus, I'm going to stop sharing now. And if we can get us back to the
I think you need to stop sharing, Jim.
There we go.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Go on to the next one. Okay. What we wanted to show you today is we wanted to show you how you can use the data source tab. We can use joins or relationships. Those operate just kind of like VLOOKUPs in Excel. We showed you how you can do unions, and we also showed you how on that data source tab we can use shared dimensions to add in master data and even data at different levels and do all this combination of data that in previous versions might have been a little bit more difficult to do. Klaus, I think we're ready to move on to our guest speaker for the day. Okay, Klaus and I are looking at each other. I guess I'm going to do the introduction here. Okay, our guest speaker is Jennifer Dawes. And Jennifer, first of all, Jennifer lives in Cincinnati, and I told this before. Whenever I think of Jennifer, I always think that she is a mom of two sets of twins. Chaos reigns, obviously. Okay. Jennifer is a first-time Tableau Visionary. Congratulations, Jennifer. She's been a Tableau Public ambassador, and she is the analytics manager at, I'm going to say this word wrong. Can you tell me how to say that?
Covetrus.
Covetrus. Very
Yes.
good. Jennifer, they're yours. If you want to take over now and share your screen.
That's fantastic. Let me take a quick look here.
Jennifer, I heard that Cincinnati is the center of the Tableau community in the US, is that correct?
I'm so sorry, say that again.
Cincinnati is the center of the Tableau community in the US. Is that correct? I think
I don't know.
a lot of people are from that area, right?
Yeah, we do. I think that's certainly some of the benefit that I think I had early in my career. So a little bit about me. I actually got my start. I started my career in HR, and I started working for a small company in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the HR function. I'm so sorry, my phone won't stop making a noise. Okay, started working in the HR function in a small company in Cincinnati, Ohio, and that's where I met Jeff Schaefer, who is now Tableau Visionary Hall of Famer, and Danushki De Oliveira, who is a Tableau ambassador, and then Kevin Flerlich later joined us, and he is a Tableau Hall of Famer as well, along with his twin brother Ken. So I kind of think I landed without even knowing in this metropolis, wonderful, wonderful space of Tableau greats. And so, yeah, I think Cincinnati is certainly, and the folks that I know here have certainly shaped my career. But beyond working in HR and transitioning into Tableau, I kind of just fell in love. In school, I thought I would be an artist. I then thought I'd be an accountant. Somewhere in the middle, we landed on Tableau, which is numbers and design. So fantastic. But as Jim mentioned, I am the mom of two sets of twin boys. I have not done the math on what are the odds, but that is the number one question we get. They're such a joy. Are you guys able to see my screen? I think I'm sharing, right? So anyway, today I'm talking on my favorite topic. It's all about designing with purpose. Quick agenda here is we're going to talk about understanding your audience, which I think is the number one most important piece of this. We're going to talk about the use of color and shapes and how that can create an impact, best practices in business design, and then learning from Tableau Public. So with that, let's jump in. Understanding your audience, I think, is just the number one key to anything that we do. Working in the BI space and analytics, we're consultants to the organization, and our stakeholders generally are coming to us with a problem or a question. Knowing our audience, who's going to use the tool that we're building, really unlocks every decision after that. So I think this, I can't underscore this enough. Really understanding your stakeholders is such a key in making sure that you deliver a design and a tool that they're going to use. So I've kind of divided this presentation into two ways of thinking about it, because for me, they're very, very different. My audience at work is a business org, and they're analysts, they're executives, they're cross-functional partners, and they're really just looking for clarity so that they can create action for the business. So for them, I think simple charts such as bar charts, line charts, barbells, donut charts, histograms, hex maps, and really anything that can be understood by a broader audience. But when I'm creating for Tableau Public, it's very different. For me, that is my white canvas and a playing field that is unlimited. The audience can be niche for a topic that is close to heart, or it can be very, very broad. And it's more focused on the art of storytelling and the artistic exploration for me. Some of my data viz creations have absolute no meaning or purpose. They're just there for data art because I love to create. And with that, I kind of opened the door to creating petal charts, radial charts, Sankey's, coxcombs, anything that really inspires me. And sometimes it's where I experiment with new chart types that maybe I've never created before, but the sky's the limit. And the thing that I tend to keep in mind when we tailor our design, it's really how fast and why someone is going to consume your data. A business dashboard generally is answering a question or solving a problem. So why are they looking at it, and how do they need to consume it, and who are they? Are the things that you really need to understand. A lot of times when I say bar charts, it gets people really bummed out. Consulting group I worked for many years, some of our stakeholders, I would mock up something and I would use bar charts. We're like, that isn't really flashy. Can we do something else? And so I bring this up. This is a creation Jeff Schaefer created for Tableau Public. And it's all in just how we can reimagine bar charts. They don't all have to be standard and boring. In fact, let me bring up the actual visualization so we can take a look here. Bar charts can have a lot of variety to them. It doesn't need to be all static the same. Lots of different variations, lots of ways that we can play with color, which we'll get into in a few minutes here. But yeah, just kind of want to throw that out there. Bar charts aren't all boring. And for your business user, the reason we tend to go for this a lot of times is it's really easy to interpret. I can look at this and on any line understand where's the max and where's the min. These are a couple of the business dashboards that I've built that are for Tableau Public. They're a sample of my style of how I might create for real life work situations. Unfortunately, obviously, for proprietary reasons, don't have those on Tableau Public. But the great part about the community is there is fake data out there that we can go and experiment and play with and try to develop some of those skill sets and some of those design aesthetics that come naturally with some practice. So Workout Wednesday is the top left here. It's a project that I've done over the years several times, all about creating more business-focused dashboards and learning how to do that thing. You may see somebody create a dashboard with some really cool color scheme, or in this instance, it was that last bar was colored different than everything else. How do we go do that? So the Workout Wednesdays are all about tackling some more of the challenging things in Tableau. And you get to do it alongside the community and watch some videos afterwards on the how-to if maybe you couldn't get it that time. On the bottom left, it's a Superstore dashboard that I built actually for a job interview. Anybody out there that's getting started into Tableau Public is the best place to experiment, to create a portfolio for yourself that's going to land you the interview. But then beyond that, it's the practice so that you can demonstrate your skills in the interview and after. So the Superstore dashboard was one of those situations. And then I have another Workout Wednesday dashboard. And then the one on the top right here is actually something I did build when I was working with Jeff Schaefer. It was an HR dashboard. This is fake data, but all of our employees did the Strength Finder book. And if you're not familiar, you go through a quiz at the end of this book. It's all about focusing and leaning into your strengths, not your weaknesses. And generally people have 5 top strengths. So I was trying to visualize, how does our organization look in terms of strengths? And contrary to this visual, for our organization, it was actually significantly lower compared to every other area. And so we really had to think about that as an organization. We had gaps in communication, and nonetheless, this is the visual that I built for our HR and management team. So let's compare that really quickly against some of the stuff that I've done in Tableau Public. If you spend time exploring Tableau Public, again, you'll see some very different chart types, very different color choices. I'm all about throwing every color in the rainbow out there when it's appropriate. And I experiment with shapes and different visuals. The Betty White one was just trying to understand the decades of work that she had been, time that she had spent in television and all of the different things, her contributions to television. And then the one on the very back there, that's the pink, blue, and yellow with the shapes overlaying. It's meaningless. There's no real data behind it. I just wanted to play with shapes and map layers and see what I could create. So again, are these things, or are there pieces of this that I would take to the business side of the organization? No, not really. They would be pretty difficult for many of my partners to interpret, but there are skills that I'm learning when I create in Tableau Public, various different calculations, problems that I'm learning to solve that do help me when I'm creating a real life dashboard for one of my business partners. So we can't talk about chart types without talking about pie. And the joke for me early on was Jeff Schaefer made us all sign a contract, a fictitious contract of we will never use a pie chart. And I used to laugh, but to this day, I probably have never really created a pie chart, maybe a donut chart. But I want to talk about why I think they're not great and where and when I think they may be appropriate. On the left, we're looking at some both of these are actually Superstore data, and we're just trying to understand profit by the various categories. The left is just the category level, the right is subcategory level. And obviously, to our eyes, it seems apparent that the left's a little bit easier to interpret and the right is absolutely not. And it's easy to kind of giggle and say, well, I wouldn't do that. But many people will quickly react and will put a chart type together without stopping, processing, and reviewing. Can I compare the slices on the right with the subcategories? Am I really able to interpret the difference between the office supplies that is lime green compared to the darker green? And also, I should point out, this is profit. There are some negative numbers here. This isn't appropriate really for a pie chart, but just kind of wanted to show a wild example. So really on the top left here, this would be a better option. Yes, it's a bar chart, but man, I can really quickly look at category and subcategory and know exactly where the highest profit and where we're the lowest for profit. One dashboard that I recently saw that was published by Kevin Flerlich, he started getting into this idea of, if we're going to use a pie chart, why not use that in combination with bar charts? So if I wanted to look at the various different categories, phones, chairs, storage, or tables, the ones I have selected, tables, machines, accessories, copiers, and bookcases, what percent of the total does that equal? And so he's using us at action here so that the user can select the bars and it will populate the pie chart. What a wonderful use of it to see where the part to the whole is, but also still offering the user the individual bars so they understand those numbers. And then another example in the wild, Pradeep Kumar. I love this dashboard. You probably, if you've been around Tableau Public, seen this. This is a great use of a pie chart, donut chart really in this situation. But he's using two dimensions. Either they're currently with the organization or they have left the organization. And how does that compare? In my mind, when we're using 2 or less or 3 or less, really, it's a lot easier to compare. But when we have multiple things we're trying to compare in a pie chart, it makes it really difficult. So those are some, in my mind, really great examples of pie charts. So moving on to colors and shapes and how do we create impact? I will tell you that there are a lot of things early on in my Tableau career that I felt like a kindergartner with all of the colors of the rainbow, the glitter, the glue stick, and I was just throwing everything on the canvas. And as a team, they used to joke with me and say, it's kind of great, but you need to pull one layer back. You know, stop, pause, look at what you created, and maybe remove just one or two of those elements for a cleaner design. And I couldn't have think of any better way to describe it. There is this impulse to go learn all of the things and throw everything out there. I remember a map I created, and I had cars all around Cincinnati, and I was trying to understand drive time. And so I, of course, on the map had to have little car icons because that seemed like the best way to go. So anyway, on the business side, color is used sparingly, really for clarity and priority. If I'm going to throw color on a business dashboard, there's true intended purpose. And I'm trying to emphasize something for the user. Shapes are to support function. So icons really is my limitation, or maybe some arrows. The goal is for fast and accurate interpretation, and the impact is usability and action. But on the Tableau Public side, right, the gate is kind of wide open. Color can be bold, thematic. You saw my rainbow dashboards that I created, and very expressive. Use color to evoke emotion, mood, or branding, right? Shapes can drive artistic layout, storytelling, and the goal is really for the curiosity, engagement, and visual delight. And the impact is that inspiration and exploration. For me, the business dashboards, it's really the thoughtful design drives faster decisions, stronger engagement. On the HR side, we used to say recruiters look at resumes for maybe less than a minute, and they're looking only at the top fold. Just FYI, if you haven't heard that. They're scanning thousands or hundreds of resumes. They're going to spend very little time on each one. So you really got to grab the user's attention. I think a business dashboard isn't very different. I demoed a dashboard that I was really proud of to my COO, and within 2 seconds, he had a reaction. Some of it good, and some of it was confusion. And to me, it kind of signaled that no one's going to spend time reading all of the text or digesting or playing around. They're going to look at it and react. So that's really what it's about for a business dashboard. How do you drive faster decisions and stronger engagement? Because you're able to, the story jumps off the page. We can't really talk about design without talking about pre-attentive attributes. Maybe you've heard of these, maybe you haven't. But there are different ways that we are signaling a user psychologically, from the hue of a color to the actual color, size, orientation, length, width, shape, position, grouping. Those are just a few of the many. Anything that you look at, infographic or any visual information that you're trying to process, believe it or not, you're really reading all of this. And so it's how to get really, really crafty with knowing how people respond and leveraging that in the designs that you use. And I'll continue showing a couple more examples here. Also, I think Steve Wexler shared this recently, and I absolutely love the simple way of explaining color. Color is used for only a handful of key reasons. If it's sequential, you're trying to show which area is high or low. If it's diverging, you're maybe comparing a positive against a negative. Your midpoint should always be 0. Categorical is probably what I use the least. But if you are going to color something, make sure that that orange always means the same thing. If it's orange for chairs, it's always chairs. I think is one of the biggest hangups I see for categorical coloring. Highlight, I think, is really, really powerful. And I'll show a biz in a few minutes here where I used highlight, and then alert. Of course, if I'm going to build a business dashboard and really we're just monitoring where profit dips below a certain threshold, alert's a great way to use color for that. A tool that I use a lot, and I can show in a few seconds here, is Coolers. I don't know how it's intended to be pronounced, but it's not how you spell color, but it's for colors. So it's a really fun color generation tool that you can go into, and all you have to do is go to the website, start the generator, and hit the space bar, and it's going to load 5 colors as quickly as you can hit that space bar. And then once you may lock into the color you like, you can go and explore what a
various dashboard might look like. You can play with how the colors and just kind of mock it up. And at times when I'm looking for inspiration, a lot of times if it's a Tableau Public, something that I'm designing, I'll go to this website and play with it. For a business dashboard, I don't necessarily have that luxury. I'm not going to be using pink or purple in a dashboard for a business dashboard, but it's a great website. Happy to drop some of these links in the chat afterward. You should check it out. So moving on to best practices in a business design. The team that I work with every single day, we have the same first conversation, is we have to start with the why. We do have a ticket or some kind of communication system where the team might reach out and say, I really need a dashboard for X, Y, and Z. And I think our impulse is to be very task-oriented and jump on that and knock it out and get it done. That's giving them what they want. That's not giving them what they need. And I see every analyst as a consultant. If you're wearing an analyst hat, if you're in a tool like Tableau, you're a consultant. And your job isn't to deliver what they want. Your job is to deliver what they need. And a lot of times, the users that we're working with don't necessarily right off the bat have a way of articulating their need. And it comes from sitting and asking some deeper questions. And yes, that makes the process longer. And yes, at times we get grumbles from our stakeholders because they want to just move things along. But we have to start with a why. We really have to understand intention. At TC, one of my favorite talks a friend of mine was giving, he went through this whole project start to finish, and he was kind of expressing all the different points of the project. And he said, and at the very end, he realized the users weren't using it. And it was because they built this dashboard and all they needed was a data export tool, because really they just needed a means to get the data out because they needed to fill it in to some other system, some other place. So I think if you don't start with the why, you can go so wildly off track. You might end up landing on building something really beautiful and amazing that you're proud of, but it gets zero usage. So that's the most critical. Using familiar charts, like I said, I stick with bar, line, donut charts, things that are easy to read. Prioritizing key metrics, having them prominently displayed, and then also declutter ruthlessly, which I'll show you in a few minutes here. Using color with purpose, add context, labels, titles, tooltips, right? Great way to add context. And then white space. When I was first started using Tableau, and again, I was the kindergartner trying to throw everything on the paper with the glitter, I was reminded of the rule in real estate is location, 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 if you've heard that. Well, the rule for business dashboards or data visualization is white space, white space, white space. It's really difficult for an end user to interpret the great story that you're trying to showcase. Your data can be spot on, your color choices, everything can be spot on. But when there isn't enough white space for your story to breathe, it gets overwhelming to a user and the key points can get missed. So white space is just as much something you need to consider in your design choices as anything else. And again, reiterating, business dashboards should accelerate decisions, not just display data. I think 90% of the things that I've seen are, well, here's the data, right? We're just dumping the data, we're creating some metrics, and it lacks that personality and conversation of what is the problem it's trying to solve. So here's again, a business dashboard that I built using Superstore data. In a second here, I'm going to show you a dramatization of maybe what it looked like with the 8 years ago me and what I may have created in Tableau Public. Let's jump in and have a little fun. So let's for a second imagine me in Tableau for the very first time. I don't know that it looked exactly like this, but this is not that far off. I had a lot of fun playing with color, and I wanted to label everything, but I wasn't considering, like, if we look at this, there's a couple of things that maybe immediately jump off the page that you guys would want to go instantly change. But would you get all the way to an end result similar to this? And even this, I would argue, this is maybe 4 or 5 years old, and there's probably things I would change, but nonetheless, we could look at this and quickly interpret a few things. We could all agree. So for me, looking at this now, I think couple of the things that come to mind, and I'm click happy because I don't have my mouse and I'm using a trackpad. We can do this. So I would look at this and think, why do I need color and states? I'm trying to categorically color, and that's really not what I need. This dashboard's intention is really all about profit. Profit should be the thing on color. And again, if you heard me say, if you're doing a diverging color palette, please, oh please, make sure your center always is at your 0. If you're going to compare your negative to your positive, I've had some real like dashboards that I've built where it was unfortunately all negative, and so it's resetting that midpoint to 0 to make sure that we don't arbitrarily set our color. Tableau does a pretty good job at this, but it's something I tend to always double check. So we set our color, maybe we kind of scale back our size because these are a little happy and in our face, and we need some white space. Also, the color doesn't need to be at 100%. I think if we could take it down to 80 or maybe less, I don't know, we could play with it. Let's see if that looks any better. Already it's starting to look a little bit better. A few more touches, I think we could get there. Padding is something I use a whole lot of because this is going to help us add that white space. Outer padding, as you can see, is going to push my visualization in, and it's going to add the padding on the outside of this container. I use that at times, but then I also really love using inner padding. Inner padding is going to maintain the sheet as its original. How do I explain this better? It's only going to smush in the visual, not so much the sheet. So I might set that to 15. Okay, that doesn't look right. We're playing with it. So I think I just like moving the inner padding, leaving the outer padding as it is. I might need to reduce the shape size a little bit more to make it fit. And for a hex map, if you've never built that, super easy. Reasons to use a hex map, unlike a regular map, especially for the US. We all know Texas is huge, and Maine and some of the other northeastern states are very small. And where we're talking about profit, if Texas is right now a negative profit, that can really overemphasize one particular state instead of giving them all their equal size and shape. A hex map does a really good job of leveling the playing field here, so we're able to represent every state equally and kind of see the spread. It's easily built, and it's just a hexagon shape. And we're doing, I believe there's calculations out there. I can, again, put some stuff in the chat, but you're just using X and Y coordinates for your states and putting it on columns and shapes and creating your own map. So there you go. That's a little bit better. Still not 100%. If I do a couple of other things to a few of these other charts, again, color doesn't really make sense having it on every shape. There it is. Let's take it off there. Let's put it on profit. Let's take the opacity down. Probably want to do a border, which means I need to change it to a circle. I never understood why you couldn't do a border on any shape, but food for thought for another day. We're going to reduce the size, give it a little space to breathe. You can kind of start to see it coming together, right? One thing I always love to do also is to put a background color on my header just to kind of anchor it. I'm making a few changes, but I think you're getting the idea here. It doesn't take a lot to really pull some layers back to reduce the noise so that we can see the clear story. Something like this would maybe be the end result. Moving back into PowerPoint here, I lost my spot. Okay, so we can all agree that's too much. That's better, right? Just with a couple of changes. So beyond just building for Tableau or building for a dashboard for work, I still love engaging with Tableau Public. Number one reason is the learning and inspiration. There are times where you feel like you can hit a brick wall in terms of I'm building the same dashboard every day. How do I change this up? How do I go beyond the box that I'm coloring in? And I love Tableau Public for that inspiration. Not only just for the rainbow colored and wild stories and shapes, but there are tons and tons of business dashboards out in Tableau Public that you can look through and in most cases download, reverse engineer, and learn something through. It's 90% of what I've done over the last 3 or 4 years is downloading stuff from Tableau Public just to understand how other developers work. Also, experimenting with new chart types, like I said before, it really helps to improve creativity. I think it builds your design vocabulary and understanding why you might make some choices. The example I just showed you, we could look at and all agree that the color was just too much. But until you've really gone out and looked at tons of data visualizations, you can't really, it helps you, I guess, to refine that palette of seeing where you should make some changes. Bolder use of color, again, like I said, in layout, it emphasizes this storytelling. There are stories that are so much fun to share and tell that you just wouldn't get the opportunity in a business environment. And the community of feedback and inspiration. I cannot say enough. I've been using Tableau Public 8-9 years. How wonderful this community is. Jim and Klaus and a lot of the folks on this call are people that I've watched videos of and learned throughout the years. And it's that direct contact with the community, it's feedback, it's reaching out on X or LinkedIn and having conversation with folks that has really helped me understand and unlock things. I think Jim is the person that really made dates make sense to me years ago. So the community that you have is what supercharges, I think, your learning. So absolutely engage in Tableau Public and the community around you. Pushing boundaries on Tableau Public can sharpen your intuition for what works and why. Absolutely. And again, just kind of landing on a couple of the things that I've done throughout the years. Some of these are very old and I would look at and say, what was I thinking? But the Elton John dashboard that I built was an Iron Viz entry from 2019. And it was the first time I ever got to use Pages. The map, if you pull it up, there's a recorded screen of Pages. And so you're watching each year pass by of Elton John's tour and concerts. And I just thought that was so cool that I got to use Pages and experiment that way. I hadn't done that in a business dashboard. The radial chart that I built for that dashboard was a complete learning curve. I had never seen radial charts in anything I had created. The potential of female wealth I did for a Women in Analytics Database competition, one of the first competitions I ever entered. And I experimented with just using 2 colors for the entire viz. And I loved going through that exercise. The global patterns and pet ownership was a Makeover Monday exercise where I really wanted to use bar charts, but also have fun with some flair. And how do I combine the two so that the users can interpret it, but I can also finally create a petal chart for a purpose that might be meaningful. So if anything, if you can take anything away from this, continue to connect with the Tableau community, join these user group sessions, learn from others, see what they've learned, download some work from Tableau Public and reverse engineer and see how people are building things. But absolutely, make sure that you're considering your audience and you're building with a purpose. And with that, I thank you. If you want to reach out, LinkedIn, I don't know that I put my contact here for LinkedIn, but X as well. Also, I co-lead Her Data website with Danushki De La Vera. We have a joint email that you can reach out to both of us. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and let me know. But otherwise, thank you.
Jennifer, that was great. Thank you for doing that. I see a lot of business users that really need to internalize, what you were presenting, because the message gets lost when there's so much clutter. And the little tips like white space, yes, absolutely. White space, limit the number of colors. Excellent. Thank you so much for doing that. And by the way, I just love your work on Tableau Public.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then also I couldn't agree more on praising Tableau Public, because I think has been crucial for many of us. So yeah, I fully agree with everything you said about Tableau Public, and beside that, of course, too.
Maddie?
Okay, do we have any questions for Jennifer in the Q&A?
There's just one question regarding the color palette and the points which you mentioned about color, So what about color contrast and colors that are visible to colorblind people? So something on that.
Well, I love that you asked that question, and I feel like I was rushing because I think I had so much that I wanted to share. The colors website actually has a colorblind test. So if you pick a color palette that you really like, I'll drop the link in the chat. There's a button you can hit that'll show you all of the different color blindness, and it will walk you through the test. I generally avoid red and green, and I try to use better colors, maybe an orange and a blue. But there's so many different ways that you can do some testing for your data visualizations, websites all over that you can upload them to. I could go on and on about that topic. Jeff Schaefer, that was one of the first things that he really drilled, that we made sure that we were colorblind friendly all the time. And not all of my Tableau Public projects, I'll admit, pass the test, but for a business dashboard, absolutely. And that's a great question.
Thanks. Thank you, Jennifer.
All right. I think next is Maddie with the quiz.
Yep, we are ready. I will share my screen. I also put the link in the chat. And then there you go. You can also use the website. Oh, I don't want the sound though. That's no good. Okay, there we go. All right, great. This was a good one. I'll wait till it gets to like 50 because I think that's a good number, and then we'll
Okay.
start.
We'd remind you once again, there's no cash or prizes,
So,
but you get to be the king of the household if you win today.
okay, I'm not gonna. Oh, I'm gonna end it, but I think you can still join even afterwards. It will have the little code at the top. So, okay.
It started.
So the first question, where can you add your data sources when starting a new visualization? So this one has more than one correct answer. So you can select two different things and they're both correct.
And yeah.
Oh my gosh, it went so fast. No, take me back. Okay, that's fine. Wow, they've changed the interface since we last did this, and that's okay. All right, so where can you add your data sources when starting a new visualization? You can add them on the data source page or the Tableau landing page. Well, the Tableau landing page was the first page that Klaus showed. It's like when you pull Tableau up and you can just connect to a new source. You can also add it, of course, from the data source page. That's the more obvious answer. And then you can't actually add it from the analytics pane. That should say pane also. I'm not very good at spelling. Okay. So next question, true or false? Unioning, which is a new word, clean data adds data as rows rather than amending columns. So true or false? Oh my goodness. Okay. Good job, Steve Ellis. It takes me off guard that we're already celebrating before we know the answer. Okay, the answer is true. Yes, it should, unioning your data should add it as rows. Of course, Klaus showed us that if there are unmatched columns when you union data, it will give you an error and tell you need to fix those things. But that's why I added the word clean data. If your data is clean, it should just add it right there.
And there's a tip in the chat maybe after this question.
Oh, good. Thank you for that. Thank you. More chat tips. Great. Okay, if I want to include all data in a join, not just the matched rows, which type of join should I use? So this was on the screen, but not discussed. So this is like a trick question. This wouldn't be fair if this were for real points. But way to go, FB. You still got it, even though it's hard. Yes, okay, great. I'm glad to see that so many of you know about joins. So the full outer join will add information from both of your sources of data. It won't, and that will, of course, create some nulls, but it will not take out any rows of your data. And then True or false, when adding a new data connection to your file, you need to know your file type. True or false? I added this because if you're like me, you might have this problem even as an established user.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's true.
Yes, you need to know. So if you're like me, I wouldn't call myself a pro, but I would say I'm a seasoned user, and you're looking for your file and you're like, I know it's in this folder. Why can I not see it? Check that you selected the correct file type when you were adding your data, because tale's old as time. If it's not there, that's
You
why.
can you know there is a tip that you can drag the file and put onto the Tableau icon on your desktop, and it opens up in that.
That's a good pro tip, but that doesn't work if you're adding another file. It is something you're already
Right.
working on. Which is
Yes,
my
that's true.
Okay, if you want your fields nested, so that's like when you do the little plus button and they pop up, you need to create what to make them nested into each other? I don't know whose Dr. Quiz is, but I really like your name that you made for yourself. Okay, great. FB. And I don't know who Newbie is, but you're clearly not a newbie. You're answering all the questions right. Yes, the hierarchy is the thing that Jim created. He just did his in his little data pane on the side, which was really nifty and great. And that's how you show the hierarchy or the order of your fields so that you can nest them and then use your little plus or minus fields to make them pop up, which is super nifty. Okay, true or false, bar charts must be boring. This was for Jennifer.
This is controversial, right?
This is an
so.
opinion question.
Not as controversial as pie charts being boring.
That's true. I did not bring pie charts into this. I didn't want to start a real war.
As we
No,
have a
bar
pie
charts
chart.
don't have to be boring. And Jennifer, I loved all your bar charts, especially the one that looked like a bullet chart. I really liked that. That was fun. I've not really thought, oh, I could do this bar chart as a bullet chart before, but that was really clean and simple. So those were some really good tips and inspiration. Love that. Okay. And then I really loved all the conversation about color. So Jennifer talked about when we are doing a business dashboard for a business case, what value should color add? Emotional connection, clarity, branding, or priority? I thought this was really helpful for me because I work in a business and always have to use the color palette. So sometimes I get frustrated by the color palette, but the correct answers were clarity and priority. And so sometimes people just want to use color because it's part of the branding, but it should bring clarity and priority in business cases. And so then Jennifer talked about some, that's different if you're doing something just for fun or for exploration. But I thought that was a really good tip. Okay. And then what's something that you'll take away from today's session? This is your personal reflection time. There's no right or wrong answers to this. I really love that you guys are being thoughtful and answering. I don't know that I can even see them. Maybe I can.
You can, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have to show them all. Oh, just show answers. Okay, here we go. Ideas, great. Inspiration. Yes, lots of inspiration, Jennifer. You're so inspiring to us. Oh, okay, there we go. All right. So, no, I want to see the leaderboard. I hope that I can see it. Oh gosh, I'm so afraid. Okay, I'm gonna hit end. I hope it tells me the winners. Oh, it does. Okay.
Oh, that's.
All right, Newbie and Pam, right?
Eric,
And
yeah.
Eric A, you win our non-cash prizes. There's also it's not.
And Pam
Congratulations.
Butler is one of the Nashville co-leads. Pam, you will get your non-cash prize next week at the Nashville meeting.
It's just Jim's. It's just time with Jim this year.
Yeah, she'll tell you right away that's not a prize.
It's not a prize.
Okay, good. That's it for today. Thanks everyone for being with us. Thanks Jennifer for your awesome presentation. And again, if you want to watch us build something, you can already register for the meeting on June 17th. And we would be happy to see you again.
Thanks for attending today, everybody. If
Bye.
they,
Yeah. Thank you,
Jennifer
everyone.
and co-leads, if you just hang on for a second, we'll do a little recap here in a minute. We can stop recording, Raj.